Did you kill Tupac Shakur?
I didn't kill Tupac. I mean, I don't know why, you know what I'm saying? They would even say something like that.
Orlando shot across Dre.
He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, popped.
What would you do after you allegedly kill not only one of the most iconic figures in your community, but a man whom you also claim is one of your favorite artists? If you ask Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, he will not only tell you he didn't kill Tupac, he will tell you Pac is the Marvin Gaye of rap.
You know, he was like I was like a big fan of his. To me, he was like, I mean, when you say Tupac, he was like, you know what I'm saying, the Marvin Gaye of rap to me.
After Orlando, Keefe D, and the other Southside Crip members shot Tupac, they remained in Vegas and didn't go back to Compton that night. Instead, the Southside members decided to party. They left the White Cadillac at an unknown location and put the pistol on one of the car's tires. These men were obviously not first-time killers. Then they went back to their hotel and drank, and emptied as many green bottles as they could, whilst also smoking a lot of weed. For them, this was just like every other night. But for Pac, he had been shot 4 times. Once in the arm, once in the thigh, and twice in the chest, with one of the bullets even entering his right lung.
Shortly before midnight, Tupac was brought here to UMC's trauma center, where he was immediately operated on, and then again about 20 hours later.
He's had a right lung removed. He's back in his room, and again, he remains in critical condition. He's in the intensive care unit.
Tupac was now fighting for his life, while his fans held a vigil outside of his hospital. But for Baby Lane and his goons, after their alcohol-filled night, they were now focused on perfecting how to get away with murder. The next day after the shooting, the Southside members went to pick up the Cadillac, but the pistol was already gone. When they were heading home, Orlando told his uncle Keefe D, "Don't tell nobody what happened, not even your mama. Don't say a motherfucking thing." This was perhaps because he knew what a chatterbox Keefe D can be. After this, they didn't use the Cadillac for a few days, because you've got to understand that for the first 48 or 72 hours after a murder is committed is when it's easiest to capture the killer. So, the streets were hot at this time, and being around the vehicle that was used for the murder isn't exactly a bright idea. They had to do everything perfectly to get away with such a high-profile murder. After some time, they decided to clean up the Cadillac and also repaint it to make sure it looked nothing like a car that was used for murder. But unfortunately for Orlando and his band of shooters, everything didn't go as smoothly as they would have wanted. You see, Pac wasn't just any random individual. He was one of the biggest entertainers at the time, and his death attracted a lot of media attention, far more than the Southside wanted, and perhaps far more than they expected. Tupac's death became the biggest story in the news and on the streets. Channels like MTV were releasing several documentaries about the shooting, and they also had numerous headlines that had the words "Keefe D's nephew" in it. And then the streets had already pieced it all together. See, just like in most cases, the streets had solved the murder because the cops did. Pac's death set the streets on fire and started a deadly war between the North Side and the South Side. Everyone was out for revenge. And although he was never a full-fledged gang member, Tupac had a lot of people who were ready to ride for him. You see, Pac was affiliated to the mob Piru Bloods because of his death row connections. Word on the street is that every Blood member was being offered $10,000 for every Southside member they killed. In the next 10 days after Pac was killed, Compton gang unit cops stated that there were 11 shooting incidents and 3 people were killed.
You know, Southside was responsible for the shooting of Tupac, so it's coming back to Compton, and what that meant to us, a war was about to start. And sure enough, like 2 days later, it started.
Okay. Now, how many people were killed during this war?
I think in the next 10 days, we had 3 people murdered and I want to say 11 shootings.
12 shootings, yeah.
Orlando Anderson was shot twice in the kneecap with an AK-47, and he was on a wheelchair for almost a year. And this tells you just how drastically his life changed after Pac's death. However, there was a time when Orlando only worried about homework rather than having to look over his shoulder all the time. You see, Orlando was born and raised on the dangerous streets of Compton, but he didn't grow up in a home where the mom and dad were always present. After his parents split up, Orlando lived with his grandma on 1409 South Boris Avenue, and he and his grandma had a special connection. Orlando was a student of Taft High School and also went to Manuel Dominguez High School for his senior year. And this was where he got his diploma. Yeah, Baby Lane was described as a very good student who got good grades by numerous sources. However, he could not escape the cold hard hands of gang life. Orlando graduated high school in 1992 and became a student of Compton Community College. But it didn't take too long before he dropped out, and this was when he became a member of the Southside Compton Crips. Orlando actually earned the moniker Baby Lane. He was given the nickname because he got into the streets at a very young age, and he became a respected name in the streets. Baby Lane's maternal uncle, Keefe D, reportedly lived in the White House right next to him. Orlando worked at a local hydraulic shop up until mid-1996, the same year Pac was murdered. After Pac's murder, Orlando did a lot of interviews denying that he killed Tupac. In one of his interviews, Orlando stated that he is actually the victim of the situation.
Were you involved in any way in the death of Tupac Shakur?
No, I was not involved. I mean, I'm like a victim. You know what I'm saying? I feel, you know what I'm saying, sorry for him. And, you know, like I said, I was a fan of him.
In another interview, Orlando then stated that he is the scapegoat of the situation.
I've been thinking, you know, maybe I'm a scapegoat or something. I just want to let everybody know, you know what I'm saying, I didn't do it.
Orlando then claims that he was at home on the night Tupac was shot.
That Tupac was shot. And where did you hear?
When I heard that Tupac was shot, when I was at home.
And after some time, during his deposition, Orlando also stated that he had not even been in a White Cadillac car for years.
From 1995 to date, have you ever ridden in a White Cadillac?
No.
Do you know anyone who owns a White Cadillac?
No.
Now, this is quite fascinating, because the whole world has seen the video of Orlando being beaten up at the MGM Arena on the night of the shooting. However, it seems the lies did work out for Baby Lane, as he was never charged for Pac's shooting. But unfortunately for Orlando, he lost the person he loves most 2 years after the shooting in Las Vegas. Baby Lane's grandmother, Utah Williams, passed away at the age of 85 in the early hours of the 29th of May, 1998. Orlando was never known for drinking or smoking, but after his grandma died, he spent his entire day at the bottom of a bottle. Losing his grandma did a number on him. Orlando had his drinking spree with his close friend, Michael DeRoe, and after some time, they decided to go to Mom's Burger to get some food. At around 3:10 p.m., Baby Lane and DeRoe drove his black Chevy Blazer to the restaurant. Across the street from the restaurant is Rob's Car Wash, and this is where Orlando saw Daniel Smith, who hadn't settled his drug debts. Orlando got into an argument with two men who were with Daniel Smith on the day, Jerry Stone and his brother Michael Stone. Both Jerry and Michael were members of the Corner Pocket Crips. The argument between Orlando and Jerry became quite heated, and Baby Lane was the first to pull out his gun. Jerry pulled out his firearm, and the duo got into a standoff. Michael DeRoe then talked Jerry into putting his gun away. But immediately when Jerry put down his gun, Orlando shot Jerry Stone twice with his 9mm gun, after which Michael Stone returned fire and shot Orlando and DeRoe. Baby Lane shot Jerry Stone dead before he was hit in the chest by Michael Stone's bullet. Orlando slumped over the wheel after he was hit. DeRoe then picked up Orlando's gun while bleeding himself and shot Michael Stone. DeRoe didn't stop shooting even after Michael hit the ground. He continued letting off bullets even after both men had hit the ground. DeRoe then started driving Baby Lane's Blazer from the passenger side and tried returning back to their hood. However, the car crashed before they even got far at all. Now, the crime scene was only 6 blocks away from the police station, and it didn't take long for the police to arrive. All 4 men involved in the shooting were all taken to the Martin Luther King Jr. Hospital. Baby Lane and the 2 Stone brothers passed away at the hospital. while Michael DeRoe recovered from his injuries, and he was never a free man after the shooting. DeRoe was convicted of the murders of all 3 men, even though he didn't shoot his friend. Orlando's murder was considered part of the drive-by shooting, and because DeRoe was shooting at everyone outside of the car with intention to kill, he was deemed responsible for everyone who died. Unfortunately for DeRoe, he followed in his father's footsteps, who was also found guilty of triple murder years ago. Michael DeRoe was sentenced to life in prison. Orlando Anderson died when he was 23 years old. He died on the same day his grandmother passed away, and he and his grandma were also buried on the same day.